Good afternoon, Rontologists. Welcome to another session of Rontology TV's education series featuring our topic for today, component method of adding vectors. Of course, our main objective for today is to be able to find the resultant vector from a set of given vectors as shown in this whiteboard. We should be able to find the resultant, the magnitude and direction of the resultant vector. Alright, so let's begin. Given the following vectors, vector A is equal to 9 kilometers west, vector B is equal to 15 kilometers northwest, vector C is equal to 10 kilometers 30 degrees north of east, and vector D is equal to 5 kilometers 20 degrees west of south. Okay, our next step will be to plot these vectors in a Cartesian plane. Why? Para ma-visualize natin kung nasaan sila banda at mailagay natin ng tama yung sign ng bawat components. Alright? Or ma-double check natin. So let's begin with vector A. Vector A is 9 kilometers west. So dito sa baba, meron ako naka-reading Cartesian plane. Ibig sabihin, yung ating vector A ay directed west. Okay, so this is vector A. Alright. Next, our vector B is 15 kilometers northwest. So nakita ninyo yung direction niya ay northwest, wala nakalagay na off. Ibig sabihin, 'di ba, yung tinuro ko sa inyo last time, kapag kaganyan, the angle is exactly 45 degrees. So ibig sabihin nasa pinakagitna siya ng dalawang main directions na north and west. Okay? So nasa ang quadrant 'yan? Tama, nasa second quadrant. So, dito yan, more or less. Ito yung ating vector B. And the angle from the x-axis is 45 degrees. Exactly, 45 degrees. Okay, next, we have, for vector C, 10 kilometers, 30 degrees north of east. So, nasa ang quadrant yan? Very good. Nasa first quadrant. So, say for example, ito yung 30 degrees. Ito ngayon si vector C. And last but not the least, si vector D, 5 kilometers, 20 degrees west up south. Okay? So, tinuro ko sa inyo kapag ganito, paano malalaman kung nasang quadrant siya? Yung off, yun yung pinanggalingan. Tapos, yung naunang direction, yun, doon siya papunta. So, up south, ibig sabihin, nanggaling siya dito sa south, nag-move siya by 20 degrees pa west. Therefore, vector D is here. Ito yung 20 degrees na angle. Okay? So, ito na ngayon yung ating visualization ng mga vectors. Dito pa lang sa diagram, malalaman mo na agad kung ano yung sign or kung zero ba siya. So, vector A, alam natin, wala siyang y component. Meron siyang x component. At ito ay negative kasi nasa negative x-axis. Si vector B naman ay merong negative na x component at positive na y component. Si vector C ay merong positive na x component at positive na y component. And si vector D ay merong negative na x component at negative na y component dahil siya ay nasa third quadrant. Okay? So, next na natin gagawin is to compute for the component of each. For example, itong una. So, ito nga pala si vector A, you can use the angle from the positive x. Okay, so that will be the vector, the angle of vector A from the positive x is 180. So therefore, the x component, gagawa ko dito ng parang table, x component, tapos ito yung y component. Okay, So, lalagay ko na ngayon si vector A, our AX is equal to 9 kilometers cosine of 180. At si Y component, AY, ay 9 sine of 180 degrees. So, kakalculate na natin yan ngayon. What is cosine of 180? The answer is negative 1. Very good. Times 9. So, magiging negative 9 kilometers yung ating X component. Tapos, ang ating Y component, since sine of 180 is 0, therefore, times 9, it is still 0. So, let's proceed with the second one. BX. BX is equal to 15 cosine. Alalahanin nyo yung vector B natin ay nasa northwest. Ito. So, 45 dito, 45 din doon. So, kung mula sa positive X yung angle natin, hanggang doon, ilan lahat yon? Tama. So, that's 90 plus 45. So, that's 135 degrees. Tapos, for our Y component, that becomes 15 sine of 135. Okay? So, baka tanungin nyo ako, sir, pwede bang gamitin ko na lang ay 45 para hindi masyadong malaki yung angle? Pwede naman. Pwede mong gamitin yung 45. Kaya lang, dapat mong tandaan kung nasaan siyang quadrant para maging tama yung sign na mailalagay mo sa sagot. Kasi pag namali ka ng sign, mamamali ka rin mamaya sa summation. So, kaya ako nare-recommend yung angle from the positive X is because it will show you the right sign. So, kung positive ba siya or negative, lalabas agad sa calculator mo. Hindi mo makakalimutan. Unlike kapag manual mong titingnan kung nasa ang quadrant siya, baka makalimutan mo pa. Okay, so ngayon mag-compute tayo ng component. So, 15 cosine 135. Punta tayo sa calcu. We have cosine 135 times 15. So, ang lalabas ay negative 10.6. Okay? So for convenience, gagawin ko na lang whole number. Pero technically, dapat meron siya mga decimal, ha? Baka pag sa college niyo, pagdating nyo doon, meron mga decimal na ginagamit. Pero sa ngayon, for convenience sa pag-compute, gagawin ko na lang siyang, i-round off ko na siya to whole number. So this will be negative 11 rather, kilometers. And for the Y component, sine of 135 times 15. So, ganun din. Siyempre, dahil 45 degrees yan, same yung magiging magnitude ng component. Okay, so this is positive 11 kilometers. So, nakita nyo, automatic lumabas yung negative. Samantalang, kapag ang ginamit mo ay 45 lang, wow, ginawa mo dito, 15 cosine 45, pwede naman. Cosine 45 times 15. Ang lalabas ay ganun pa din, 10.6 or 11. Kaya lang, walang lumabas na negative sign. Titingnan mo pa ngayon. Paano pag nakalimutan mo yung negative sign na yan? So, that will make a big difference sa answer mo mamaya. Okay? So, para na lang hindi kayo malito, use the angle from the positive X to the vector. Ganito, from the positive X papunta doon ay 135 degrees ang angle. Okay? So, next, proceed tayo sa pangatlong vector. So, let's begin with the X component of vector C. Vector C is in the first quadrant. So, positive, positive. 10 cosine. Okay? So, dahil from positive X yung angle natin, yan na mismo yung angle na gagamitin natin. Cosine 30. Tapos, sa Y component ay 10 sine of 30. Okay? Tapos next, compute na natin. So next, we have cosine 30 times 10. So 8.66. So dahil i-round off ko sa whole number, magiging positive 9 kilometers. Okay? Next, we have sine of 30 times 10. So the answer is 5. Exactly 5 kilometers. And last but not the least, yung ating pang-apat na vector dx is equal to 5 cosine. Again, ano yung angle natin? Mula sa positive x, dalawa yung angle na pwede mong gamitin. Positive x pa ganito, pa counterclockwise, so that will be 270 minus 20, so that's 250. O kaya naman yung angle from the positive x pa clockwise, kaya lang negative yun, di ba, sa trigonometry ninyo, negative angle kapag clockwise, as positive angle kapag counterclockwise. So say for example, gusto mo yung mas maliit na angle, so ginamit natin yung negative na angle. Okay, so this is 90 plus 20, so 110. Okay, cosine of negative 110. Wag mong kakalimutan yung negative, kasi pag hindi mo nalagay yung negative dyan sa angle, dahil alalahanin mo clockwise yung rotation mo, so kaya negative. Pero kung pag ganito, kung 250 ang ginamit mo, wala ka nang ilalagay na negative dyan. Okay, so papakita ko sa inyo na pareho lang yung sagot. Okay, alright, so 5 cosine of 110. Punta muna tayo sa pag-compute. Cosine of 110 negative, okay, times 5. Okay, negative 1.71 or negative 2 pag na-round off ko sa whole number. So lalagay ko dito negative 2 kilometers. Okay? So gusto ko lang ipakita sa inyo na kapag ang ginamit kong angle ay yung kabila, yung pa counterclockwise, so that will be 250, diba? Kasi 180 plus dito 270 dapat, kaso nag-minus tayo ng 20, 250 ang angle. Right? So pakita lang natin dito, cosine 250 times 5. So nakita nyo, we have the same answer, negative 1.71, or approximately in whole number, rounded off to whole number, negative 2 kilometers. So pareho lang. Next, let's compute for the y component of vector d. dy is equal to 5 sine of negative 110 degrees. So punta tayo sa calculator. That's 110. I'm sorry. Sine of 110 negative times 5. So the answer is negative 4.698, or rounded off to whole number, that will be negative 5 kilometers. Alright, so after calculating all the components, x and y components of each vector, the next step is to get the summation of the x component and y component. So for the x component, the summation of x is equal to negative 9 plus 9 is 0, negative 11 minus 2 is negative 13 kilometers. So this is the summation of our x components. For the y component, we have 0 plus 11 plus 5 minus 5. So the answer will be, for the summation of y, is positive 11 kilometers. Alright, so what's the significance of the signs of the summation of x and summation of y? It can tell us the direction readily. of our resultant vectors. Say for example, in this case, our summation of x is negative 13 or negative, therefore it is directed to the left. So this is our summation of x, and since our summation of y is positive, then it is directed upwards. This is our summation of y, and therefore the resultant vector using the head to tail method will be from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. So this is our resultant, and this is the angle of the resultant, theta. Okay, so from here you can determine nasaan quadrant ba to. Tama, nasa second quadrant. So saan siya nanggaling? Galing siya sa west, therefore of west. Saan siya papunta yung angle? Nag-move siya pa north. So therefore the angle is north of west. Right? Okay, now that we have determined the direction, it's time for us to use the Pythagorean theorem to determine the magnitude of the resultant vector. So the Pythagorean theorem states that the resultant vector is equal to the sum of the square of each component. Okay, so sum of summation of x squared plus summation of y squared. So applying, we have negative 13 squared plus 11 squared. Negative 13 squared is 169. So magiging positive na siya. 169 plus 11 squared is 121, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, getting the sum of that, we have, double check na lang din natin siguro para hindi tayo magkamali. 13 squared is 169. Next, 11 squared is 121. Sum of that is, 121 plus 169, 290. So we have square root of 290. And what's the square root of 290? Square root of 290 is equal to 17.02. 17.029 and so on kilometers, or approximately rounded off to whole number, we have 17 kilometers. So hindi pa tayo tapos. After nyan, kailangan pa natin makuha yung angle using the SOHCAHTOA. Our angle theta, ito yon, yung angle na yan, is equal to inverse tangent of the summation of y over the summation of x, or opposite over the adjacent. So this is opposite over the adjacent. Okay, so we have inverse tangent of 11 over negative 13. So bali wala din naman yung negative dyan kasi naka-absolute value, di ba? So compute na natin. Shift. So syempre kailangan mag-print inverse tangent of 11 over 13. And the answer is 40.236. This is 40.236 and so on degrees, or approximately 40 degrees. Alright, so therefore the final answer for the magnitude and direction of the resultant vector has a magnitude of 17 kilometers directed 40 degrees north of west. Okay, so that will be our final answer. Ito, ibabox natin siya ng red. Alright. Okay, so for the given vectors A, B, C, and D, in this case, using the component method, the resultant has a magnitude of 17 kilometers and directed 40 degrees north of west. Alright, so I hope na meron kayong natutunan this afternoon in our lesson about component method of vector addition. Kung meron kayong natutunan, please paki-like naman ng video or mag-comment kayo kung meron kayong clarification or hindi naiintindihan para pwede nating masagot. Alright? Okay, so with that, thank you very much, Rontologists, for watching until our next education series. Bye-bye!